I stop mid-step in the church hallway, breath snagging as Vanessa's voice lands like a slap. $15,000 for a wedding gift? You're an amazing sister. The gift card in my purse turns to brick. $5,000. 2 months of desk lunches and canceled weekends. My fingers choke the handbag strap as she pivots, champagne tilting, eyes forming a pretty O. Oh, was it supposed to be a surprise? PR training overrides the tremor in my throat. I smile. Painted, brittle. Don't worry about it, these things have a way of getting out. She squeezes my arm. Still, what a generous gift. Maya is so lucky to have you. My name is Amelia Allen, 31, professional fixer of other people's messes. Reliable daughter, generous sister. I push into the bathroom and lock the far stall. No audience. Hands shaking, I open my bank app. The balance stares back, all those overtime hours compressed into digits that will not stretch to 15. Email. The receipt for the gift card. $5,000. A brunch memory surfaces, my mother's voice casual and cutting. With your PR salary, everyone expects something substantial. The way she said substantial, like $5,000, were paper napkins. My sister nodding along. Jenny's sister gave 20. The small, practiced looks between them when I said what I could afford. I brace my palms against cold metal. 1 breath, 2, 3. In the mirror, a woman stares back with flawless makeup and a burgundy dress that doesn't dare wrinkle. But there's a new spark banked behind her eyes. Heat with a spine. This isn't the first time Dad's co-pays. The roof repair, a semester abroad, the emergency car fix, the anniversary cruise, the little withdrawals from my future, my bungalow with the bay window and the reading nook I've wanted for a year. Water runs over my wrists. I rewrite my face. Then I reach into my purse, crush the silver ribbon I tied for 20 minutes, and feel something more durable than politeness settle in my chest. Outside, the hallway hums, heels, laughter, the soft click of a camera. The wedding planner finds me with a clipboard smile. Your mother mentioned you'd like to announce your gift tomorrow? I look past her to the ballroom doors, to the chandeliers waiting to crown a performance. Actually, I say, my voice steady in a way it hasn't been in years, I have a better idea. Could you add me to the toast list before my mother? She nods, pen moving. I nod back, a plan sliding into place like a key that finally fits. If this kind of family pressure feels familiar, stay with family power stories. Like, comment, sub. Because telling the truth out loud changes what happens next. I step toward the exit, the cool edge of a leather photo album pressing against my hip, and the hallway lights sharpen, bright as a stage about to open. The bathroom stall became my bunker. My hands shook so violently I pressed them against the metal just to feel anchored. The gift card receipt still glowed in my inbox. 5,000, not 15, not the fairy tale number my mother had chosen as if plucking it from thin air. 15, the day of Maya's birth, the neat family symbolism packaged into a public performance. I thought of the roof last winter, the check I wrote before my own rent was due, the semester abroad in Barcelona, Dad's knee surgery, the anniversary cruise. Each request delivered not as a plea but as an expectation, slipped into conversation until silence meant consent. Each one shaved off a piece of me. Now in the sterile church bathroom, I saw the pattern like a row of receipts, stacked and undeniable. $47,000 over 3 years, more than numbers. A year of vacations I never took, dinners eaten alone with microwave noodles, invitations declined because my account couldn't stretch to joy. I rinsed my wrists under cold water until they numbed. The mirror didn't lie. My burgundy dress hugged perfectly, my lipstick stayed unblemished, but behind the performance my eyes carried the raw ache of being drained dry. When I stepped back into the rehearsal dinner, the air pressed down. Perfume, champagne fizz, clinking glasses. Mom and Maya whispered at the head table, their smiles stretching tight when they noticed me. Dad swirled his drink, saying nothing. I could almost hear the narrative spinning around me. Amelia, the successful sister, the generous daughter, the provider. They'd written my role years ago, and I'd played it without protest. The hotel room later swallowed me whole. I slipped off my heels, one skidding across beige carpet. The spreadsheet glared from my laptop, every transfer and payment etched in neat black rows. My finger traced the total, $47,380. I thought of the bungalow with the bay window, the little reading nook where sunlight could pool. Gone, converted into other people's comfort. The phone rang. Mom. Darling, the photographer is so excited to capture your special moment tomorrow. Her voice sharpened. 15,000 is such a meaningful number for the family. Perception is reality. PR language turned weapon. My profession's mantra twisted back on me. Kate's call arrived like oxygen. Mel, that's not generosity, that's financial abuse. The words lodged deep. Abuse. I'd never named it. She named it for me. Her voice cracked through my haze. They've used you as their personal ATM. End it now. I sat motionless after she hung up, the hotel lamp buzzing above me. Then came Mom again, her voice clipped, commanding. We've told everyone, don't embarrass us. The words landed like chains. I hung up before my courage could dissolve. Social media finished the trap. Cousin Vanessa's post, tagged with my name, so proud of my cousin's $15K gift, family goals, dozens of likes already. By morning, the lie would be gospel. I paced the room until the carpet burned under my bare feet. The photo album waited on the nightstand, its burgundy cover smooth and solid. Inside, childhood snapshots whispered another truth. Cape Cod sandcastles, backyard snow angels, Grandma Allen's voice promising honesty never breaks. Each page reminded me of a time before obligations swallowed affection. The next morning began with compliments coated in poison. Aunt Carol leaned close, perfume stinging my throat. Such a generous sister. 15,000. I forced a smile, lifted my mimosa, swallowed bitterness. Everywhere I turned, someone repeated the number. A maid of honor by the buffet, bridesmaids at the salon. Each comment pressed the fiction deeper, until my real sacrifice, the years of overtime and missed chances, shrunk to nothing. Mom presided over the salon like royalty, her voice floating across the room. My Melina always comes through for family. Always. The stylist pulled my hair too tight, tears springing from my eyes. Not vanity tears, pressure tears. Then came the folded note from the wedding planner, slipped discreetly into my palm. Your announcement right after the father-daughter dance. Perfect timing for maximum impact. My lungs constricted. Even my silence had been choreographed. I crumpled the paper in my fist, feeling the crack inside me, not of resolve breaking, but of silence snapping. Back in the bridal suite, I opened the album again. 10-year-old me glared back, chin jutted, standing between Maya and a neighborhood boy who'd made her cry. That girl didn't barter her worth. That girl spoke up. Somewhere along the line, I had buried her under ribbons and checks. The bathroom door swung open. Mom's reflection filled the mirror behind me, lips pressed into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Don't embarrass us, Melia. We've told everyone about the 15,000. For the first time, she said the lie to my face. I clutched the album to my chest like armor. I never agreed to that amount. Her brows arched, then hardened. Don't be difficult. You make enough. Family comes first. I straightened, pulse steady. Family does come first. That's why I'm doing this. Her suspicion narrowed, but I brushed past, phone buzzing with a message from Kate. Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. Truth is always right. The photographer caught me in the hallway, camera clicking as my face betrayed nothing but resolve. Uncle William's hand squeezed my shoulder. Stand tall, Melia. Some storms need to break. Their words pressed into me like anchors. For years, I had been the family's foundation of silent giving. Now, with the album tucked under my arm and the speech revised in my clutch, I prepared to be something else entirely. The ballroom loomed ahead, chandeliers flickering. The orchestra tuned. The script my mother had written waited to be performed, and I stepped toward it, holding a different ending inside my chest. The ballroom lights glared too brightly, every chandelier crystal scattering reflections like tiny knives. My body moved through the motions of rehearsal dinners and wedding morning routines, but inside me, something coiled tight, waiting. I clutched the speech card the DJ had slipped me after confirming my request. The card felt flimsy, nothing compared to the ledger of sacrifices I had lived through. I carried the real speech elsewhere, in memory, in proof, in the album tucked against my hip. Guests swirled around me in pastel dresses and dark suits, voices buzzing about centerpieces and menu choices. Beneath their chatter, I caught the whispers, always circling back to the same number, 15,000, like a chant. Mom glided through the crowd, directing waitstaff with the authority of a general. Dad trailed behind her, nodding, smiling, never contradicting. Maya, radiant in lace, laughed with her bridesmaids, stealing glances at me when she thought I wouldn't notice. Her eyes carried a flicker, guilt maybe, or fear that I would ruin the seamless performance already staged. I slipped outside for air. The hotel's back terrace stretched quiet, city lights blinking in the distance. The night air cooled the sweat clinging to my skin. For a moment, I let silence wrap around me. Then I pulled out my phone. The spreadsheet waited, glowing in the dimness. I scrolled slowly, each row another brick in the invisible wall that had kept me caged. $4,700 for Dad's knee surgery, $70 for the roof, $11,340 for Maya's semester abroad, $3,890 for the car, $5,450 for the cruise. Every number whispered the same truth. My love had been commodified, my worth tallied in deposits and transfers, while the gratitude dissolved after a single thank you text. Kate's words from the night before replayed. Financial abuse. The phrase felt heavy, but also clarifying. Naming it stripped away excuses. It wasn't about generosity anymore. It was about control. I closed the spreadsheet and opened my email. The receipts, the confirmation numbers, the thank you subject lines, all the evidence I needed. My finger hovered over the screen, tempted to forward them to relatives, blast the truth wide open. But no, not yet, not in pixels. The truth deserved air, not digital shadows. I returned to the ballroom, my expression smoothed into something unbothered. That was my gift, professional composure. They couldn't see the furnace burning beneath it. At the breakfast table the next morning, I endured another round of comments. Aunt Carol again, the maid of honor. Even distant cousins whose names I barely remembered approached with sparkling eyes, congratulating me on generosity that wasn't mine. Each word landed like a pebble in my stomach, heavy, cumulative. Across the table, Mom raised her glass toward me in silent approval, her performance flawless. Dad smiled faintly, gaze already drifting away. Maya leaned into David, laughing too brightly at his whispered joke. The trio of betrayers, as Kate had named them, sitting comfortably in their self-made roles. I kept chewing, tasting nothing. Inside, I repeated silent mantras. Not this time, not again, not another penny or ounce of silence. Back in the salon, the stylist's hands tugged at my hair until my scalp burned. Mom's voice carried above the chatter of bridesmaids. My Melina always comes through for family, always. Her words were daggers hidden in velvet. I glanced in the mirror, caught my own eyes, and remembered 10-year-old me with crossed arms and flashing defiance. That girl stared back, daring me not to lose her again. When the planner's folded note landed in my palm, perfect timing for maximum impact, I felt the old panic rise. But instead of collapsing, I clenched the paper until it tore. My silence had been choreographed long enough. The bridal suite smelled of hairspray and roses. I sat apart, flipping through the album again. Grandma Allen's silver hair shone in a photo, her words echoing across decades. Honesty is the only gift that never breaks. Mom entered, her reflection slicing into mine. Don't embarrass us, Melia. We've told everyone. Her eyes dared me to comply. I clutched the album, steadied my voice. I never agreed to that amount. Shock flickered across her face before the mask slammed down. "Don't be difficult, family comes first." I pushed past her, chest tight but steps steady. Exactly. That's why I'm doing this. The hallway outside seemed charged, air thick as if storm clouds pressed against the walls. My phone buzzed. Kate again. "Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. Truth is always right." I exhaled slowly, fingers brushing the embossed cover of the album. Armor, witness, proof. The photographer's camera clicked as I passed. His murmured, "That's a keeper," sank deeper than he knew. Uncle William's weathered hand squeezed my shoulder. "Stand tall, Melia. Some storms need to break. Need to." I carried their words with me like talismans. The ceremony unfolded in white lace and whispered vows. I held Maya's bouquet, staring at the irony, my hands always carrying weight meant for her. Applause swelled as she kissed her groom, and I felt the ground tilt toward the reception, toward my appointed moment. The ballroom transformed into spectacle, chandeliers blazing, glasses clinking, laughter swelling. Mom moved through it all, radiant, orchestrating every detail with military precision. Every few minutes, her gaze found me, checking that her pawn was still in place. Dad adjusted his tie, ever silent. Maya leaned against David, her smile brittle, betraying nerves she wouldn't admit. I touched the folded speech card in my clutch, thin, disposable. Then the album beneath the tablecloth, thick leather, weighty, real. The father-daughter dance ended to applause. Mom began her stride toward the microphone, champagne glass in hand, ready to deliver the fiction she had written. But the DJ's voice cut the room. And now, before we hear from the mother of the bride, Amelia Allen would like to say a few words. The ballroom hushed. Mom froze mid-step, her glass tipping dangerously. Heads turned. I rose. My legs moved with a steadiness that felt foreign, or maybe familiar, like rediscovering a muscle long ignored. Each step carried me toward the microphone, toward the truth pressing against my chest. I met Mom's wide eyes across the room, her mask cracked just for a beat. The crowd buzzed with confusion. Anticipation thickened the air. My heartbeat thundered, but my hands were still, no longer trembling. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking into a role they had written. I was walking into my own. The microphone was warm against my palm, as if it carried the heat of every eye fixed on me. The ballroom hushed. Silverware stilled mid-air. I could feel the chandelier hum, the faint vibration of glass against crystal. "I've thought a lot about my gift to my sister today," I began, voice steady despite the riot in my chest. Maya's smile froze, brittle as spun sugar. Mom leaned forward in her chair, nodding encouragement, already rehearsing her scripted line. 15,000 from my generous daughter. I held her gaze, letting the silence stretch one beat too long, then another. Her lips twitched, confusion flickering. "Money can be spent," I continued, thumb brushing the edge of the microphone. "Furniture can break, but love and truth last forever." A murmur rippled across the tables. Aunt Judith leaned toward Uncle William, whispering. The DJ shifted subtly, blocking Mom's path toward the mic. From the head table, Maya's eyes darted to Mom, then back to me. David's hand tightened around her waist. Dad stared down at the tablecloth pattern, refusing my gaze. I reached under the table, lifted the Burgundy album, and let the chandeliers catch its leather cover. This album is my gift. Memories that can't be bought or staged. I walked toward Maya, the ballroom hushed but vibrating with unspoken judgment. My heels clicked against marble, each step sounding louder than applause. "Remember this?" I opened to a photo of us at the lake house, ages 7 and 10, our arms looped around each other before tuition and loans and roof repairs warped our bond. A tear slid down Maya's cheek, mascara smudging. She accepted the album with trembling hands. I lowered my voice so only she could hear. "That's worth more than any dollar amount." The applause rose, hesitant at first, then swelling. Uncle William stood, then Aunt Judith, then others, clapping louder than Mom's brittle protests. For a moment, I thought I had won. For a moment, I believed the truth could shatter the performance. But Mom was not finished. She rose, face rigid with fury, smile glued on for the crowd. "What a touching gesture," she said loudly, reclaiming the stage. And of course, Amelia has already shown her generosity in so many ways. The $15,000 is just one example of her dedication to family. Gasps rippled. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. My lungs tightened. She had said it outright in front of everyone, daring me to contradict her. I opened my mouth, but the words jammed in my throat. Years of obedience pressed like hands against my windpipe. Around us, guests exchanged confused glances. The narrative she had written was louder, cleaner. Mine was messy, fragile. Maya glanced between us, her new husband stiff beside her. "Mom," she whispered, but her voice broke. Dad cleared his throat. "Your sister deserves better, Melina, on her special day of all times." The words landed like a slap. My jaw clenched, heat flooding my chest. "My salary barely covers my rent after I've given you $47,000 over the past 3 years, I said, louder than I intended. A hush spread. My clutch trembled in my grip. I pulled the folded spreadsheet, the one I had printed that morning, and held it up like a subpoena. Every payment, every loan, every silent sacrifice. Mom's face blanched, then flushed crimson. "That's private family business." "Private until you broadcast a lie," I shot back. My voice rang too sharp, echoing off crystal and marble. Some relatives recoiled, others leaned closer. Aunt Carol muttered, "I knew something was off," while Mrs. Robertson crossed her arms, eyes narrowing at Mom. But still, the shame pressed against me. Guests' eyes felt like searchlights, some sympathetic, others skeptical. My pulse thudded. Had I gone too far? Would they see me as vindictive, ungrateful? Mom stepped closer, smile a slash across her face. "Family helps family," she hissed, voice pitched for nearby ears. "At my expense." Again. The words burst free, raw, unpolished. Maya clutched the album tighter, flipping pages with trembling fingers. Photos of our childhood spilled open. Me protecting her on the first day of school, me guiding her in a science fair project, me always in the background, holding, steadying, giving. Her eyes lifted, wet and wide. "Mom?" Just one word, but loaded. A crack in her loyalty. The room buzzed with whispers. Cameras clicked. The performance was unraveling. Mom's mask shattered. "I won't stand here and be accused by my own daughter," she declared, voice shaking. She grabbed her evening bag, heels clicking furiously as she stormed toward the exit. Dad followed, shoulders hunched, never meeting my eyes. The space they left behind felt cavernous, echoing. Applause had died. Guests whispered in hushed tones, unsure where to direct their allegiance. I stood alone, clutching the paper in one hand, the microphone in the other. My chest heaved, my pulse hammering. For a moment, shame washed over me so strongly I wanted to disappear. Uncle William touched my shoulder, steadying. "About time," he murmured, but his voice felt distant. Maya remained by the cake table, album pressed against her sequined bodice. Her eyes brimmed, not with anger now, but with something harder to parse. Recognition, maybe. She whispered, "You made me look terrible." "No," I said softly, throat tight. "I gave you the chance to be better." But even as I spoke, doubt gnawed at me. Guests' faces blurred into a smear of judgment and gossip. The applause that had once buoyed me now felt fragile, conditional. Had I ruined her wedding? Had I become the villain after all? The DJ tried to resume, announcing the next dance. Conversation slowly picked up, but the energy had shifted. The reception buzzed not with celebration, but with fracture. I stood at the edge of the dance floor, feeling the cold draft of the doors where my parents had disappeared. My body shook, not with fear anymore, but with exhaustion. The breaking point had come, and though I had spoken, the cost lingered heavy, pressing down like a verdict still undecided. The music limped back into the room, but the reception was no longer seamless. Guests whispered behind champagne flutes, their voices pitched low, sharp as wasp stings. I stood at the edge of the dance floor, gripping the folded spreadsheet I had printed that morning. My chest still throbbed from the confrontation. The chandeliers overhead blazed too brightly, and I felt exposed, as if every light had turned into a spotlight trained on me. Maya drifted toward the cake table, the album pressed against her sequined bodice. Her face carried streaks of mascara she hadn't bothered to fix again. She leaned in, voice hoarse. "You made me look terrible," she whispered. I studied her eyes. Hurt, guilt, and something else. Fear, maybe. "No," I said, my throat raw but steady. "I gave you the chance to be better." She glanced down at the spreadsheet clenched in my hand. 47,000? Her voice cracked. "That can't be real." "It's every payment," I replied, voice louder, clipped. "Dad's surgery, the roof, your semester abroad, your car, the cruise, all of it. My future siphoned into your convenience." She flinched as if I had slapped her. The album slipped a little from her grasp, then steadied against her chest. Uncle William edged closer, his weathered face grim. "She's telling the truth," he said, voice pitched to Carrie. "We've all seen Eleanor lean on her too hard." Aunt Judith nodded, whispering to her husband. Mrs. Robertson's lips pressed into a thin line, her eyes darting between me and Mom's empty chair. The whispers grew thicker. For once, they weren't about my so-called generosity. They were about the lie unraveling in real time. Then came the sharp click of heels against marble. Mom re-entered, Dad trailing behind her, his eyes fixed low. She smiled like a politician, wide and empty, but her gaze drilled into me with fury. She strode up and gripped my wrist with manicured claws. "Enough!" she hissed through her teeth. "You've humiliated us in front of everyone. Put that paper away." I yanked free, raising the sheet high for all to see. "No, they should know. This is what you demanded from me year after year. Not generosity, manipulation." Gasps scattered across the room. The DJ froze mid-motion, his clipboard slack. The photographer's shutter clicked, capturing my raised hand, the trembling page, the expression on my face. "Family helps family," Mom snapped, louder this time, her words aimed at the crowd. I let out a jagged laugh. "Family helps, yes, but family doesn't treat one person like an ATM and call it love. Family doesn't announce $15,000 I never promised and trap me in a lie." The ballroom buzzed hotter. Dad finally spoke, his jaw stiff. "Now wait just a minute." "No," I cut in, voice sharp as broken glass. "Every line here proves what I carried, and you watched her orchestrate it. You never stopped it. Silence isn't protection. Silence is complicity." His mouth opened, then closed. He looked away, shame written in the slump of his shoulders. The wedding planner edged forward, clipboard pressed to her chest. "Mrs. Allen specifically instructed me to prepare that announcement," she said, voice shaking. "She gave me the exact figure. I thought it was your wish." Eyes swung toward Mom. Her mask faltered. "I only wanted to make the day special." "At my expense," I shot back. My voice rang over clinking glassware. Again and again. I pulled my phone from my clutch, thumb flying across the screen. "Here." I held it high so those nearest could see. "A message from Maya 2 weeks ago. Mom says you're announcing the 15K. So generous, can't wait, heart emojis. Proof." She pushed it into the world before I even knew. Maya's face drained of color. I thought it was just Mom pressuring you. I didn't." Her voice faded as relatives leaned closer, expression shifting from confusion to judgment. Uncle William straightened. "Eleanor, enough. The girl's right. This has gone too far." Mrs. Caldwell, Mom's bridge partner, looked away, embarrassment clouding her features. Mom stiffened, eyes flashing. "I will not be accused on my daughter's wedding day." "You already accused me," I said, pulse hammering. "You accused me of giving a gift I never promised. You accused me of being endlessly available, but the truth—" I slapped the spreadsheet against the mic stand, paper snapping sharp. "The truth doesn't break." The crowd murmured. Some faces softened, some hardened. None looked away. Maya clutched the album tighter, flipping to a photo of us as children. She touched the image as though it burned, her lips parted. "Mom!" Just one word, but its weight made Mom flinch. The room shifted. For the first time, my sister wasn't shielding our mother. She was questioning her. The balance tilted. Mom's smile collapsed. She snatched her evening bag from a nearby chair. "I won't stand here and be slandered," she announced, her voice brittle. "Not today." She turned sharply, heels cracking against marble, and stormed out. Dad followed, head down, his cologne trailing faintly as always, a silent retreat. Their absence sucked air from the ballroom. Guests whispered, shifting uncomfortably. The chandelier light glared overhead, merciless. I stood gripping the spreadsheet, my chest rising and falling in sharp bursts. For a moment I felt naked, unsure if I had torn open my life only to be branded bitter and cruel. Uncle William's hand landed on my shoulder. "About time," he murmured. The words steadied me, but doubt still gnawed. Maya remained, the album pressed tight, her eyes shimmering. "I didn't know," she whispered, her voice small. "Not everything." "No," I answered quietly, though my voice carried. "You didn't want to know. There's a difference." She looked down, shame flickering across her face. Then she asked, almost childlike, "What happens now?" I swept my eyes across the ballroom, the towers of flowers, the overflowing buffet, the bar lined with liquor bottles that cost more than a month of my rent. All built on illusion, on denial, on my silence. "Now," I said, my voice steady, "we start telling the truth." The words spread like ripples, catching on ears, bouncing between tables. Guests who had clung to the performance shifted, unsettled. Others straightened, nodding slightly, acknowledging what they had suspected but never voiced. For years, I had played the role they wrote, the generous sister, the dependable daughter, the provider. But here, under the weight of chandeliers and the gaze of dozens, I was no longer silent, no longer theirs to script. The truth had been spoken, and it hung in the air, undeniable. The whispers surged again, but now they carried a new timbre, not gossip, but recognition. Some relatives looked at me with pity, others with respect. Either way, the performance had fractured. The truth had been set loose, and no one could shove it back inside the script my mother had designed. I lowered the spreadsheet, breath shuddering but chest lighter. I knew the war was not won, but for the first time I wasn't fighting it alone in silence. I had dragged it into the open. The reception carried on, though the air never returned to celebration. Conversations hummed in guarded tones, laughter strained. I remained near the dance floor, the spreadsheet folded in my palm, its edges damp with sweat. The chandeliers still blazed, but I no longer felt like a target beneath them. I felt stripped, raw, yet oddly free. Guests began approaching me. Mrs. Robertson squeezed my elbow, her voice low. "About time someone spoke honestly," she murmured, loud enough for those within earshot. Others nodded. Some avoided my eyes, but the tide had shifted. Maya lingered, the album still in her hands. Her fingers traced the leather cover, her shoulders slumped. She whispered, "You gave me a gift I didn't deserve." "You can still make it worth something," I told her, voice softer now. "Fill it with honesty. Build different patterns than the ones Mom set." Her eyes filled, not with performance tears, but with something raw. She nodded, clutching the album as though it might anchor her through the rest of the night. I slipped away from the spotlight, my heels clicking lightly down the corridor. Outside the ballroom, cool air swept against my face. For the first time in years, I inhaled without the weight of obligation pressing on my chest. Weeks later, in my apartment, the morning sun streamed through tall windows. A letter waited on my coffee table, the familiar handwriting of my sister. I circled it for a full day before opening, bracing for manipulation. Instead, the words trembled with admission. Mom pressured me into the announcement. I should have stopped it. "I'm sorry." "Your speech wasn't what I expected, but maybe it was what I needed." My hands shook as I folded the letter. For years, I had begged silently for recognition. Now, at least, there was a beginning. I pulled out my own copy of the album, the twin to the one I had given Maya. Sliding a new photo into the blank page, I paused. It showed her hugging me after the reception, mascara streaked, gratitude flickering on her face. Imperfect, but real. I left empty spaces next to it, room for relationships that might still be rewritten. Over dinner with friends, Kate raised her glass. To speaking truth, even when it's hard. Our circle echoed, glasses clinking. I smiled, warmth blooming where shame used to sit. Therapy sessions with Dr. Marshall taught me language I hadn't known I needed. Boundaries, self-preservation, the right to say no without apology. When Dad called about property taxes, I didn't reach for my credit card. I suggested a payment plan with the county instead. He surprised me by thanking me, not guilting me. Small, fragile, but different. And Mom, her voice over the phone weeks later sounded less certain, edges softened. I never saw how much pressure we put on you, she admitted. I convinced myself it was normal. I sat in silence, fork suspended over my plate, stunned at the sound of her concession. Thank you for saying that, I answered carefully. I'm willing to rebuild, but only if respect is the foundation. A pause, then, I'd like that. That night, I added another photo to my album. A recent dinner where no one mentioned money, no one hinted at obligations. Just conversation. Awkward, uneven, but honest. On the album's first page, beneath childhood snapshots, I wrote an inscription. The true wealth of family is measured in honesty, not dollars. I closed it, leaving blank pages waiting, a future unwritten. Sometimes the most valuable gift isn't money or sacrifice. It's courage. The courage to tell the truth out loud, even when your voice shakes, even when the room tilts against you. That courage cracks old patterns wide open, making space for something new. If you've carried that same weight, if you've been the silent provider, know this: you're not alone. Truth may cost you comfort, but it gives you freedom. And if this story struck something in you, stay with us here at Family Power Stories. Like, comment, subscribe. Not because I ask, but because every time we share, we remind each other that honesty is still the strongest inheritance.